What's up? This is me, L Teddy 27, Angry Teacher Chronicles, and this is my review for Queen Sugar Season 4, Episode 2. Listen, it's a lot to unpack here. This was a phenomenal episode, and I can only hope, ladies and gentlemen, that my review lives up to all that this episode was, because it was so good. It was so good. So let's get right down to it. All right. So we start off with Charlie. Charlie comes over to Rod's house. It's right where we left off last episode. Charlie comes over to Rod's house, and Charlie's says to Rod, "Listen, I know you read it. Listen, let's talk about it. However, and let me say this, and I'm going to say this about this, it's not going to be so much a recap. I am going to recap, most of the scenes, but this is really just a lot of commentary for me. It's really me giving my review and a lot of commentary. I'm going to try to not just, in some of the scenes, I'm not just going to like what I call surface fishing, just swim around the surface, but I do want to go deep into some of the more underlying and covert things that I observed. So what I didn't like about this first scene was Ralph Angel came off real. He just came off it was just like, so I don't like this raw, being soft, just punk ass, weak, sensitive ass Ralph Angel right here. Because I wanted to see pure, raw, unabridged emotion. Because it should have been anger there to me. And I think this further pushes the narrative, and speaks to the premise that I talked about last episode, which is Ra is still the baby brother. Ra still, to a certain degree, is not very well respected. He's a grown-ass man, and they still treat him like the little brother. What we saw here kind of speaks to that and pushes that narrative. Why? And I know this is going to come out saying that I am feeding into stereotypical masculinity, whatever. But we do live in this patriarchal Western civilization. And as a father, not just a man, but as a father, it is expected when crisis happens, when there's moments of unassuredness, or there's moments when the family feels attacked, especially when it's the family and the children. A father is not expected at that point to show weakness. A father is not expected at that point to be some punk ass showing, oh, I'm sensitive and weak. No, he is expected to jump and fly into action. Yes, it may be unabashed, unabridged, and raw, uncut emotion, but what is expected is that emotion is one of anger, one of protector, one of machismo and uber masculinity, because that is what's needed for safety and for protection of said family and children. And Ra didn't give me that here. And so that's why I say it kind of feeds into that narrative so well. So the next we see David Alan Grier is on his way in town. You see he's helping some lady with her car. I wrote down in my notes, I was like, is he going to go see Aunt Vi? Because at this point, I didn't know who he was. And I just assumed he was there to see Aunt Vi, because he got this whole ass Santa Claus beard going on. And he's old as hell, and that's the only person who I could think he's going to go see. Is it me? Or was the chick he was helping out the same chick who plays the deacon in Greenleaf? Maybe it's just they look alike. But she looked like the chick from Greenleaf who plays the head deacon, who's over the deacon board or whatever. deaconess or whatever, with the pretty short gray hair. Tell me, chick with the car that looked like her. I'm just saying. Next, we're at on Vi's Diner. And so Hollywood is busy reading the book. The diner is packed. Aunt Vi is, the business is booming. Aunt Vi is doing the damn thing. Hollywood's supposed to be at the cash register. Hollywood back here reading the book. Reading the book, all about it. And Aunt Vi asks, you know, some of the other employees, like, hey, what the fuck is Hollywood? And they were like, he's in the back. So she goes back there. He tries to close the book real fast. And she was like, well, you know, we got customers out here. We need your help. And he was like, okay, I'm coming. So he tries to close the book real fast, tries to hide it from her underneath some papers. We'll see how far that gets him. So next, we're at Ra's house. Blue's getting ready to go to school. Ra tells Blue, because Ra is now confronted with the fact that, hey, inevitably this book is going to come out. It's going to be in the public sphere. And my son goes to a public school, which means that there's a possibility that this information could be, he could be confronted with this information by someone outside of the family, by somebody trying to be mean and spiteful to his child. So he says to Blue, listen, I don't care what happens, no matter what nobody tells you, you know I love you. And there was this awkward moment because even Blue kind of looked like, okay, Dad, okay, Pops, because there's this whole thing here. You know, now Rod has to be and should be protector, but there's this whole just weakness about him. Like he can't handle everything that's going on. And to me, I just, you know, as a viewer, and because that's Bae, you know, Ralph Angel is Bae. I don't like necessarily him being put that way, but I know they're doing this for a reason. It's all about all of how the family unit has been portrayed, or how it's always been. Ralph Angel is who he is. He's not seen as a full-blown grown man, although he's always itching and always fighting to be seen that way. Next, we have Nova. I'm sorry. At this point, when Ralph Angel is confronted with the fact that I have to, you know, deal with the fact that you have gotten my child into this, he goes into parental mode. Meaning, every parent, when you fuck with a parent's child, you are going to get the full scope of all of that they have to offer. That's the instinctual, animalistic, you know, nature of us as a species. In the animal kingdom, go fuck with an animal's child and see won't they fuck your ass up. Just saying. Same thing here. So Ralph Angel is incensed. He's livid. He can't take it anymore. He goes over to Nova's house. And we have a confrontation here. Finally, in this scene, we see a little bit of aggression here. A little bit of raw, uncut anger. In that scene, in the part of the scene where he takes the picture, and I think, y'all correct me if I'm wrong, because I really didn't get a glance at the picture, but I think it was a picture of the family. Ralph Angel takes the picture in the picture frame and throws it, and the pieces shatter all over the floor. We will get to the symbolism behind that a little later on. And there's this anger, finally, but it's still cloaked in all of this weakness and sensitivity and vulnerability. At every moment, it almost seems like he's about to burst into tears. I find this to be great writing and phenomenal acting on the part of Kofine, as we like to call him. Kofi Siriboe. Some people call him Kofine. Some people, Kofine Siriboe. Some people call him Kofi Siriboe. Whatever you want to call him. Great acting here. It's difficult to have that raw, uncut anger and still have it cloaked in this sensitivity and vulnerability. I thought he did some great acting there. This was great. This was a great scene. Next we have, I believe these are ladies from the publishing company perhaps, that come in and in the midst of this confrontation, and they start calling Nova this superstar and so forth and so on, and they were like, well, who is this? And Nova's like, oh, this is my brother. And so one of the ladies go, oh, so this is the infamous Ralph Angel. And she was like, oh, reading about your life, I cried twice. This belittles him, because now his life is nothing more than some storyline for you to, that's fodder for some book for you to ogle at almost. And this is his life. It's belittling for him. And, it further incensed him all over again. And so he leaves, storms out, and tells her, listen. And, oh, wait, excuse me. I forgot about the disrespectfulness. I mean, Nova, this entire episode, at her level brand of fuckery, when she had the nerve, the gall to tell, because when Ralph Angel tells her, oh, well, somebody might confront Blue about me not being his dad after reading the book, she was like, oh, well, if you want, I can sit down with you and Blue and we could talk about it. No, bitch. No. No means no, and yes means no. You don't believe that shit? You do not believe that shit that I'm finna let you go and talk to my child and you don't put all this business out there. No, bitch, you don't believe that shit. You wouldn't think about that shit when you wrote this shit. You're a whole disrespectful ass Nova. I'm not here for you. And so he be like, no. Matter of fact, and when he walks out the door, he said, listen, stay your ass the fuck away from my child. Stay your ass the fuck away from my goddamn child. And he leaves. Next scene, we see Nova is having his photo shoot for the book. Bear in mind, keep this in the back of your mind. Nova in this photo shoot, she's not around her family. She's only around the photographers and these ladies from the production company. So you see emotion from her. Even they're saying, hey, I need you to smile like you're happy to be here and so forth and so on. And so there's this outward display of emotion by Nova. She almost can't keep it together. Keep that in mind. So then we see she's backpedaling and pussy popping because this whore is asking them, oh, has the book gone to print yet? Because there's a couple of chapters that I would like to really go back over and make sure everything is the way I want it. No, bitch. You over here backpedaling and pussy popping and your ass done fucked up. And you know you have. Nobody's here for you. But they tell her, boo, nothing we can do for you. Already going to print. It's nothing we can do. Y'all, I got a lot of notes on this episode. This was a great episode, y'all. It was so great. Next, we're at Aunt Vi's diner. You got Charlie, you got Ralph Angel, you got Hollywood there. They're discussing who's going to tell Aunt Vi about the book and what's in the book. Hollywood said, listen, you two whores are way too emotional right now. I done read the book. I'll tell her. That's my wife. I'll tell her. They say, okay. Ralph Angel leaves. When Ralph Angel leaves to go pick up Blue at the school, Charlie and Hollywood discuss the fact that Ralph Angel, has not read the parts of the book that are about Darla. And when they found Blue and Darla that time. So I'm assuming, because my mind started to wander, and they may have talked about it in previous seasons, but y'all know my mind bad. My mind just went to a horrible place. So I'm figuring that this might have been one of those times when she was strung out on crack and she was still a whole prostitute turning tricks. And so I'm thinking that perhaps Blue's a baby or a young toddler, and maybe Vi and or Nova had to go and rescue her. because a trick or a couple tricks had done mudded her out, and she was strung out on drugs and mudded out with the baby laying in this bed with drugs and all kinds of paraphernalia around the baby Blue. And she wrote about that and wrote that Ralph Angel was almost like saying he was less of a man or less of a father because instead of being there for his child, he was in jail. Just a mess. Just a fucking mess, Nova. Apparently, Ralph Angel ain't read that part of the story yet, and they discussed that. It's just a mess. Yeah, just a mess. So then, Ralph Angel goes out to the school. Ugly chick is there, still flirting. I had to keep moving because I don't like ugly chick, and I don't like that ugly chick is flirting with my bae. Anyway, moving on. Micah comes home. And Micah came home looking like a whole ass snack, okay? Judge a man, don't judge me, because in real life, he's like 24, 25 years old, okay? He ain't in high school in real life, so fuck you and fuck your life, okay? So, we go to commercial break, and I only talk about this commercial break for this reason. Let me tell y'all something. They gave a trailer for this new show coming out in August, either the 14th or the 24th or something like that, called David Makes Man. Every fucking part of that trailer and every facet of this show looked a fucking amazing. I'm here for it. Here for all parts of it. Oh my God, you got Phylicia Rashad that's in it. You got Michael B. Jordan executive producing. You got Oprah Winfrey executive producing. The show is written by Terrell Alvin McCraney, who's the person who wrote Moonlight. Yeah, Barry Jenkins directed it, but it was Terrell Alvin McCraney who wrote it, because remember, it was a play before it became the movie Moonlight. Both Terrell and Barry Jenkins are from my home city, Miami. We're all from the same neighborhood, Liberty City. They went to Miami Northwestern, which is like 4 blocks from my home that I grew up in back in Miami. I chose to go to the Magna program and go to Miami Central. We all graduated, I think, the same year. I think Terrell graduated with me, and I think Barry graduated a year before me. All of us graduated within like a year of each other. All from the same neighborhoods and everything in Miami. So, but anyway, the show David Makes Man, I'm here for it. If you have not seen the trailer for it, you need to go see it because it looks fucking amazing. Back to Queen Sugar. So Micah is back home. He done got the deep voice, saying it with his chest. Got a little bass in the voice now. Got a whole beard growing in. Got the little Eric Killmonger side dreads going on. You know, he done went over to Europe and, became this whole, other person. Nova calls him. And this is more of her level brand of fuckery and disrespect. Because, yes, she wanted to, hey, you home? But then she got to what she wanted to get to, which was the fact that she wanted him to let his mama know. Because she wants to talk to Charlie. Because she know they need to have a conversation. And she was like, well, tell your mama I'm going to call her later. Whatever, bitch. Whatever. You using Charlie's child to get to her. Girl, you're so disrespectful. Back at the diner, Aunt Vi peeps game and goes to Hollywood and say, listen, I know you whores were not talking about nobody yet. Because they tried that when at the previous scene, they were like, oh, because she was like, are y'all talking about me? And they were like, no, we're talking about, this chick at the school, or this lady at the school whose child is bothering Blue. And so in this scene, she was like, y'all wasn't talking about nobody at the school. Y'all knew y'all was talking about me. I ain't stupid. Hollywood tries to deflect and was like, oh, nah, you know how your nephew and your niece is, da-da-da-da. Now, you know Aunt Vi ain't done by a long shot. You know she gonna get to the bottom of it. Next scene, we see Nova, who's trying to pick up the pieces that are on the floor, the pieces of the glass. Now, let me break this down. Last episode, Nova had this big moment. That was the dream. That was a whole metaphor. It had a lot of symbolism. Here, this episode, we got another scene when Nova is having this metaphoric scene where there's a lot of symbolism. And if I'm not mistaken, the picture that was in the frame that Ralph Angel broke was a picture of the family. And it made sense that Ralph Angel broke it, because Ralph Angel is the first one that really and truly confronts Nova after reading parts of the book. Because yeah, Hollywood did it, but Hollywood is married into the family, one, and Hollywood had not read the book yet. But Ralph Angel, when he comes to confront her, had read the book. And he's confronting her. And what does he do? He takes the picture, he throws it against the wall, and all of the glass shatters. Think about where the family was at the end of last season. They were in a good place. Even though they had their issues, everything kind of had been worked out. The family was, and think about the beginning of this season. That first, the first part of last week's episode, before the first commercial break, everybody had good news. Nova had good news about the book. Ralph Angel had good news about being no longer on parole. Vi had good news about the diner opening. Charlie had good news because she's off on vacation with Rico Suave or whatever. Everybody's got good news at the beginning. So everything is together. Everything is whole within the family. But this book has shattered the family. And since Ralph Angel was the first one who read the book, and the first, not the first one who read the book, but the first one to confront her about the book after having read it, he had to be the one that broke it and shattered this picture frame in this picture. And so now she's on the ground, huddled on the ground. She's emotional now. She's trying to put the pieces, she's trying to collect the pieces of this shattered glass. And that's symbolism for her trying to collect the pieces of what is now about to be her shattered family, because it's shattered now. And there's so much underlying symbolism there. And I love how the writers did a great job. There was not a single word uttered in this scene. There didn't need to be, because it was all about the symbolism here and the metaphors and things like that. Great writing here. Loved it. Loved every part of it. Great scene. So then we had Micah is hanging out with his friends. He talks about now he has haters after the whole speech thing from last season, and when he was out in Europe. They talk about how because now their friend who's in jail can only get visits from family, they can't go visit their friend anymore in jail. Kiki rolls up in her new, Micah's girlfriend rolls up in her car. I don't remember her having a car last season. Maybe she did, but I thought it was a new car for her. And they start kissing, and friends are like, y'all need a room or whatever. And so everybody's getting ready to go out to this, soiree shindig that's going on. Next, we have Bay, Ralph Angel, and Ugly Chick on a date at the mall. There was a lot of flirting. I wanted to fuck that bitch up, because that's the Bay. And I know I got a whole boo, but Kofi is still the Bay. And I know Kofi feels some kind of way because I'm with my boo right now. And it's okay, Bay. I know I got my boo right now, and I know you jealous about my boo. But it's okay. You always Bay, and you always gonna be here. You always got your spot. You ain't got to worry. Now, I'm saying that right now, and my boo probably gonna see this video and try and come fuck me up. Y'all come save me if he do not, y'all. Okay? Anyway, next thing we have Nova and her friend. They were smoking blunts and talking because she called a friend over. Because now, she needs an outlet. Okay? She needs an outlet. And remember, I told y'all to hold on to the fact that Nova showed emotions around the chicks from the publishing company or whatnot. I want y'all to hold the fact that Nova chose to talk about and display her emotions with her friend, the little cute one with the little things in his cheeks and nose rings and all that. He's a little cutie or whatever. Hold that thought. The fact that she's showing these emotions, okay? We'll save that for later. Next, we have David Alan Grier, who's coming in town. And I don't listen. I don't give a fuck, David Allen Greer, how much of a Santa Claus beard you got, all of these clothes you got on. You, sir, will always be Antoine Merriweather. And if you don't know who Antoine Merriweather is, me and you cannot be friends. If you do not know who Antoine Merriweather is, and what I mean when I say David Allen Greer will always be, and I'm Antoine Merriweather, we cannot be friends. Because he's always going to be Antoine Merriweather. Moving on. Bay, Ralph Angel, and Ugly Chick are still on this date. We find out that Ugly Chick is a public defender. She's an attorney. Y'all tell me if I'm not mistaken, but doesn't she look like Crystal Fox, who plays Hannah on Have and Have Nots? I mean, I know she's bald and all, but look at her face. Bone structure, eyes, cheeks, nose, mouth. She kind of looks like Crystal Fox, who plays Hannah from Have and Have Nots, to me. Next, we have Darla, who's on a date with this dude. Dude ain't that cute, okay? He's from Narcotics Anonymous with her. He asks her to be a sponsor. She kind of declines. But what I took away from this is Darla seems to be in a real happy place right now, which is good. Good, because you know Darla have been through some shit. So I'm glad to see Darla happy. Okay? Next we have Aunt Vi, who finds the book. She goes to Hollywood and says, hey, I knew your ass was lying to me. Here I found this book up underneath some papers you tried to put on top of it. She was like, I don't know what the whole thing is. I'm sure Nova wrote a whole lot of stuff about her damn daddy. Vi thinks that all Nova did was write about her dad. Hollywood says to Vi, listen, babe, listen, honey. She ain't just write about her dad. You need to read this book. I'm sorry. I don't want to tell you about it. You need to read this book. So, we have the next scene with Charlie. Charlie is with, what is that? Rico Suave, Enrique, Jorge, Consuelo, Raul, whatever his name is. Consuelo, Enrique, Jorge, Raul, Rico Suave says, well, because they're talking about the book. Charlie's still talking about the book. He said, well, did she lie? And then he basically tells her, by you trying to make the book go away, you could be giving more credence to the book, or you could be making more people aware of the book. You could be doing more damage by trying to make it go away than you would by leaving it alone. I don't know if I believe that. I mean, if I was Charlie, I probably would be trying to do the same thing, which is trying to do a cease and desist as well, or trying to get it to go away too. I mean, you got to try and do something at this point. Next, we have Micah, who's with Kiki, all hugged up there at this little event for the teenagers. And it's a mixed crowd. Hold on to the fact that this is a mixed crowd for a later scene, okay? This is a mixed crowd. White boys come up to Micah, and they dress, to me, what appears to be a real hood to me, these white boys. So they look at him and say, oh, look like somebody watched a little too much Black Panther while they were out of town. Just being real disrespectful. Micah then gets in his feelings, and there's this fight that ensues. What is going on here is Micah is overcompensating. Micah ain't grow up like this. Micah ain't grow up being all this super blackness, this, that, the other. Because his mom and his dad always sheltered him from that part of who he was. Micah also ain't growing up being this super aggressive, masculine person. And there was a lot of underlying things going on here. Remember, Micah came here in high school. And so he had all of these years, unbeknownst to him, of all of who he truly was as a black man in society. And now he's coming to terms with that. And so now he's overcompensating, trying to make up for lost times. Coupled with that, you have him trying to overcompensate for his own masculinity. And that goes into color issues of color within our own black community, where sometimes you see people who are light skinned deemed less masculine than people who are dark skinned. So you have him trying to overcompensate for his skin tone as well. His girlfriend is dark skinned as well. He's hooked up on his girlfriend. These white boys are disrespecting him. And so now there's this overcompensation. So now he has a point to prove. He has to prove his blackness. He has to prove his masculinity. This whole machismo thing. And fight ensues. Y'all tell me if I'm looking at too deep into this. But that's kind of what I got from that. Next, Ralph Angel is taking Blue over back to Darla's house. From a distance, he sees on the porch Darla kissing on Dude. Now, I don't know why Bay is worried about this, because Dude is a whole 5, 5.5. Bay is a whole 8.5, 9. Okay? Come on now. Bay is here, 8.5, 9. Dude is down here, 5, 5.5. But he's still in his feelings. He still loves Darla. And he really can't come to terms with what he sees. Moving on. Ralph Angel. I'm sorry, I just talked about that. Micah goes over to Nova's house to kind of clean himself up after this fight. And this is what he's always done. From season 1, anytime Jesus God, Micah got into trouble, what does he do? Aunt Nova is his safety net. Aunt Nova is the fixer. She makes things better. She always helps him out. Mom is always going to be mom. Charlie's always going to be his mother. She's always going to have that strong motherly figure and this protector aura about her when dealing with him in times of crisis. Micah likes to go to Aunt Nova because Aunt Nova's not his mom. And Aunt Nova is more so like, yes, she's his aunt, but she treats him more like an adult and more like his friend, and almost sometimes it borders on putting them on the same level. Sometimes, even though she most times gives him good advice. So, to me, here's one of the more disrespectful parts, and maybe people don't see it this way, but I see it as this way. When she gives him the first hardback copy of that book, and he says, "Are you going to sign it for me?" She said, "Oh, it's already signed." It was intentional. She knows he's going to show that book to his mom. His mom is going to see that. And now, by her giving that book to Micah, Charlie's child, that's going to force Charlie to have to deal with her face to face, because she knows you fuck with someone's child, they coming at you like a bat out of hell. And I think it was more strategic. Yeah, she wanted him to have a copy of it, but that's not your place. You know your family's upset about this book. You know Ralph Angel is upset about what's in it. You know Charlie's upset about what's in it. You don't know yet, but you know eventually Aunt Vi is going to be upset about it. That was not your place. Yes, Micah is going to find out about it, but let his mama be the one to unravel that for Micah. That's not your place. You're disrespectful as hell. And it wasn't about giving it to Micah. It was all about giving it to Micah strategically so Micah could carry that back home, and Charlie can have to come and deal with your ass, because that's what you want. You want to be able to have this conversation with Charlie. Just disrespectful. Then we have Ra talking to Darla, and I know I'm long on this. Oh God, my light went out. I don't know what just happened there, y'all. I paid the bill. Really, you see the other light, so this light be tricky sometimes. I think there's a the breaker. I might need to check that breaker. Anyway, can y'all see me? I hope so. I'm talking to y'all like we on the line. I hope y'all can see me. Anyway, Ralph Angel and Darla are talking. Darla and Ralph Angel concede that neither one of them are ready to deal with the other person talking about dating someone else. And they still love each other. They still really love each other. And they concede that, yeah, we can't talk about that stuff. We can't. Micah then goes home, bandaged up and all. Of course, Charlie's going to do what Charlie does. She's a mother. She's a protector. So she was like, why the fuck you ain't call me? This, that, and the third. She's doing what a mother does. The mother is yelling, how dare you get in this fight? This, that, and the third. Why would you go over there to Nova instead of coming here? And he was like, because Nova always been here for me. Auntie Nova, dot, 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 dot. He has no idea what's going on between Nova and Charlie right now. And I think at this point, here is where every parent of a teenage child gets to a point, usually around junior year, senior year in high school, where you have the adult parents that are living in the same house with young adult child. And there starts to be the bumping of heads, and there gets to a point where they can't cohabitate. I remember going through that as a child where I was in the household and it was unlivable. I even moved, well, that's another story for another day. But you see this a lot where there's just this point, and I think that Charlie and Micah are getting to that point where the situations, it's just the natural progression of things. It becomes volatile. A teenager feel like they grown, a parent feel like they ain't grown, and there's the bumping of heads. That's what's going on here. Anyway, the point is, once Charlie figures out Nova is involved, Charlie's incensed. Like I told you, parental instincts kick in. Charlie goes over to Nova's house, and this is the biggest scene that we have had thus far. This might be one of the biggest scenes of the entire season. We'll see. You got the big confrontation. Yes, she comes over there and talked about how Nova was poisoning Micah. This ain't about Micah. Micah is the catalyst by which Nova goes over there to finally have this confrontation. And it, oh my God, it was really a heartbreaking scene. Phenomenal writing, phenomenal acting. But this was a heartbreaking scene because Nova is confronted with, Nova dealt with, not Nova, shit, I keep saying Nova, Charlie. Yes, Charlie had to deal with Nova dating Remy and that whole thing, but they had conceded we are sisters and we're bigger than that. See the stupid light? And we're going to eventually get past this, and they were in a good place as sisters. Nova is the big sister, and Charlie looked up to her big sister. She trusted that her big sister would always be there for her and loved her and always had her best interests at hand. But when she reads that book and she starts to read points of that book where they talked about colorism, and Nova talks about how Charlie wears her color wherever she goes, and Charlie was the privileged one. It goes back to issues that were bubbling underneath the surface. Remember, Nova was introduced to Charlie as this bastard child who had this privileged white experience all through the school year and only came over to experience what she had to experience during the summer, and then carried her ass back over there to her privileged ass white mother. And that was some underlying issues always bubbling underneath the surface that now Charlie is bringing out. And it goes back to what I told you to hold on to earlier. Notice that when Nova is confronted by her family with these issues, she doesn't really display a whole lot of emotions. She's really quite stoic and really tries to be matter-of-factly and push it off on, I'm just trying to tell the story so that other people can get a lot out of it. No, you're not, bitch. What you are trying to do is really talk to your family and get emotions out that you cannot do face to face. And so you use the book as your outlet and the engine by which you can convey your feelings and emotions. That's why when she's with her friends and other people outside the family, the emotions are there. But when she's with her family, at least in this episode, it's not there. Because it's all in the book. And she can hide behind the words in the book. Great writing, great underlying covert messaging here. Great stuff. I mean, Nova in this scene is really callous and unapologetic about what she wrote, disregarding to a certain extent how this made Charlie feel. Charlie talks about how, she's going to have to deal with her son and all of the implications that this means she's going to have with her own child and the conversation she's going to have with her child about this. Just a lot. Great. Listen. This was a heartbreaking scene, but a great scene. Phenomenal. End of the episode, we have first Aunt Vi reading the book and is confronted with the fact that Nova talks about her ex-husband. This is about to be explosive. And the last scene, we have David Alan Grier checks into the hotel, and we sees that he's about to go to Aunt Vi's diner and see his ex-wife. I wrote down on there, my last thing I wrote down, I can't wait to see how Hollywood deals with that young man. That was the episode, y'all. Listen. Phenomenal episode. Phenomenal. I know I'm way over time with this, but it was so great. I hope y'all enjoyed this review. I hope y'all enjoyed my commentary. Please add to the commentary, add your own thoughts here. That's all I got for y'all. We'll be back here next week. It's going to be a great season, y'all. We're only on episode 2, and it's already so good. We'll be back here next week, y'all. Same bat time, same bat channel. Thank y'all for coming. Y'all drive safely.